Guys, it's Carolyn with Crafting with Wine, and I wanted to come on and do a little process tutorial on how I do my paper piecing. And depending on how long this video goes, I've got two to do. Here's one. Here's another one. So we're going to see how this works and how this goes, or how fast it goes. And I have never done this before, my paper piecing, so bear with me. It's not something that I like to do because it takes a lot of concentration on my part, because my eyesight's not that good and I've got a lot of tiny little pieces to put together. So a couple weeks back I shared a video, a process video, on how I create and design a 2-page 12 by 12 scrapbook layout in Cricut Design Space, and that was of Peter Pan, and I'll link that down in the description box below. And if I can remember how to, I'm not real good at this editing stuff, I may do a card up here in the corner or down there, wherever it shows, of that video too, so you can click back and see that if you choose to. So I chose two of the images to paper piece if I have time. One is Captain Hook himself, and this is the shadow layer of Captain Hook. And then this one will be Peter Pan himself if I have enough time. And then with all the darling children, I have already paper pieced them together. I have Wendy that I've done. I've got, I forget, is he John or Michael? I've done him. And then John or Michael, I've done him, and I actually put him in little blue pajamas, not the pink ones or whatever that it showed up on Design Space. And I don't care what the color is or if it's the right color for him. I wanted him in blue, so that's why I did it. And then my Peter Pan title that I've already paper pieced together. And I had a major fail with my car's layout because Lightning McQueen was red and I had no clue he was red, because I would have made him in bright red. So live and learn, right? So that's okay. So what I have here, and what I do typically with all of my images, once I get them all cut out, all the pieces cut out, is that I use my little tiny Xyron maker or sticker maker, this little thing. I got this little tiny one, and I use it for the littlest pieces, not the tiny pieces. And I do that, so I already have adhesive on the back of all of those layers. And then my bigger layers, I use my big Creative Station, my 9-inch, and then I lay those out and do that. And I just realized that one got on top of the other one there, which means it's not going to have adhesive on most of it, so I'll have to add it. Then I have my little divided dish here that I use all the time, and here on this section of my dish are the teeny tiny pieces of Captain Hook that are here. And this is the eyes over here to Peter Pan. If you can see those little tiny white specks in there, those are the eyes to Peter Pan. And this is the Captain Hook. And this is 4 sections so that I can get everything. I assign 4 images a section within my dish, and if I have more, then I go to a different dish. And these are pieces I don't think I need, but they're laying there right now just in case, so I can see if I need them or not. Then the next thing that I do from there is I pull off a piece of press and seal, Glad press and seal. I fold it over 2 or 3 times, and I do this because what I'm going to use here is my Ranger Multi-Medium Matte Glue, and I'll put some dollops on here, and then I have my paintbrush. And those little tiny pieces that are in this dish will all be wet glued down with this. So that gives me the ability to do that. Then I have my crystal katana to pick up all these little pieces, these that are in the dish. I have my paper piercer in case I need it. I have my reverse tweezers because I will need those. And then I have my paper snips in case I need those as well. And then I bring over my ink that I distress all ink around all edges in if I choose to do so. And when it doesn't matter with the color that I'm going to use, this is what I always use. And this is the Ranger or Tim Holtz Vintage Photo Distress ink. And then this is my ink dauber, not dauber blender here. So that's there. My handy dandy embossing buddy is always right there because it has powder in it so that I can use that if need be. And let me get that ink out of the way. I'm going to try to zoom you in a little bit so you can see a little better of what I'm doing. I don't typically try to work this close up because I'm a little bit afraid that my fingers or hands will get in your way. And what I'm going to do is start with my larger images first. It's already have adhesive on the back, so I'm just going to rip that sheet off so I can get started with that. The cool thing about the Cricut is that it does cut some little guidelines in these shadow images. I don't know if the camera's picking that up or not. I'm having, yeah, I think you can see that. So I know basically because of those guidelines where all of my images are going to go. So first things first, let's just get started, and I start typically with the largest images first. And any of the tape that may be hanging over, I get out of the way. And I know that this piece is going to go right here. And then I just line her up. Line it up. So. And then my next piece that I'm going to do, I don't know why when I looked at that I thought I had a piece that hung over and wasn't going to have adhesive on it. That's not the case at all. This is all one cut piece, and that's his other sleeve. I just take an area that I want to line up to, and it means that everything else should be lined up accordingly, and then I go with it. So now you can see that I have most of his red jacket already placed down and into place, and then I have one more piece of his red jacket to lay down, and that will be this piece right here. So again, I am going to choose a guideline and go with it. And there that is. Now, the next pieces that I want to lay down are the ones that are going to fill in this black area here that I need to fill in. And I know that I need this purple layer here because that's part of his pant legs. And I'm going to need this yellow layer here because that's the trim on his jacket. So I think I'm going to do the trim on his jacket next. So I'm just going to pull my backing off. And I don't have a lot of glue that comes through on my images, very few when I use my Xyron Creative Stations, and that's because I use this little scraper here, and when it comes off, I scrape down real well. And that's why I don't have a lot of overhang of glues. So I'm going to peel this piece off because that's going to go here. And all I'm doing is picking a guideline and staying true to that guideline. I'm just following it right along. Now I want to do this purple layer of his pants, so let me peel the backing off of that and throw that away. And now I'm going to peel off my little pants layer here. And again, I'm just going to hold true to where this should be according to my cut guidelines. And there we go. It lined up beautifully. You can see there. See how it's all lined up? It's looking good. It's taking shape. And I'm loving it. Now, this layer has his leggings and the hook, his hook. So I want to do the leggings next. Even though the hat is the next biggest layer, I'm not ready to go to the top yet. So, and that changes with every layout I do. That doesn't matter at all. I'm going to choose this one, which is his left leg. So, and what I'm going to do this time is line up with the top guidelines, because that's what's going to be most accurate for me. And now I'm going to do his right leg. And again, I'm going to line it up. I got some frayed edges on my paper, so I'm just trying to force those under into the adhesive that is on the back of that. Again, I'm going to line it up to the top again and know that I should be okay there. And since I have this out and it's a teeny piece, and then I can get rid of this piece of trash, I'm going to go ahead and lay down his little hook. But I'm only doing that because I want to throw that piece of paper away, and that was the only thing left on it, and I didn't want it to get lost. So, can you see the shape? Can you see the image coming together? I can, and I think it's looking pretty awesome so far. Now I have his sword left on this piece, so this is a piece of trash now that I can get off my desk and not have to worry about. And I'm going to line this up on my image. This time I'm going to go with the tip down here where the sword's supposed to be, that is coming across his shoe, because I want to make sure that's lined up. And now I'm going to line up the rest of the edges, which means I should have the top of it perfectly, and I do. So when you line up the smallest areas first, the big areas will come right into place, or that's my history with doing paper piecing. Now I've got these two smaller pieces of this yellow gold that I'm going to go ahead and lay down so I can get rid of this trash before I lose this little teeny piece. This is one of the tail ends of his coat that goes right here. I know it goes right there because I can see that very easily that that's where that goes. So I'm going to place it right there. And then this piece is going to be part of the collar on his coat. So this one, I think, goes right there. It does. It fit in there just perfectly. I can tell that it did. So I'm going to put that down. Now, the only two pieces that I have left that I already have adhesive on are the parts to his hat. So what I'm going to do is pull off the dark purple piece first, not the feather piece. And I want to put this down because I can force the feather piece to look right if I don't get this correct. But I think I will get this correct. Paper piecing is just like putting a puzzle together. And that's all it amounts to. When you need to figure out how it lays, just before you lay it down, and if you have adhesive on it, just turn it in your hand a couple times up to the image, and you can figure out very quickly where it lays on the image. And it makes it great to do with Cricut and their cut files, because that back shadow layer always has these cut lines on it, so you can see it perfectly and know where most things line up. It doesn't give a cut for everything, but it does give a cut for the main pieces that you need. And I know this layer is going to go right there. So there's his hat. See? You can already tell who he is, and we don't even have his face and the details on yet. So he's coming together just fine. Excuse me. So now we're going to start on these little small pieces, and the only thing we have left is these little teeny tiny pieces that are right here in my little divided glass dish. So let's get started on that. But first, I've got a little snag in my paper right there. So I'm going to take my paper piercer and just scrape around that to get rid of those loose edges. And that way it doesn't, there's not a piece that looks funny. So, got those taken care of very well there. So I'm trying to keep you in camera. I keep forgetting to look up to see where I am in camera. Right there. I gotta remember to keep it right there. That's where you can see it the most. I'm gonna bring in my Glad Press and Seal. I'm gonna put a dollop of glue down now. And I always start with a little more glue than I think I might need, but I always need more, typically. And what I'm gonna do is I'm going to start with the purple pieces of the rest of his pants. I know that I need to put some purple here of his pants, and then the little ties that go on his pants, and a little tie that goes on his pants right here. So now I've got some good glue laid down there. Oh, I just flicked off a piece of my pieces. So that's where that one goes. Here's another little purple piece that will go here, if I can figure out how it lays. Just play with it. And with a wet glue, you have time to play with it, obviously. Then I have this piece that goes there. And then I just use the tips of my fingers and press it all down, and it gets off the wet glue. So you can see his bottom half is almost done. So we can finish off his bottom half and not have to worry about it. He's got little gold buckles that go on his boots down here. So I'm going to do that next. I'm going to put down some wet glue right there. And put that down. And I like using the brush and wet glue method better, much better than using those glue pens, because I've used those glue pens for years and had for years, but I noticed that my images weren't staying forever on those. So if it doesn't last for at least a few years, then there's no need for me to use it, and I'm not going to. I like this method much better, and it's easier for me. So now I got the buckles on his shoes, as you can see there. So now we're going to move to his hands. Now he has collars, white collars, because he has a white shirt under here, under his jacket, that we need to lay down. So what I'm going to do is do those little collar pieces, or they're not collars, cuffs, the cuffs of his sleeves first. Just going to lay down my glue there. And I've got 2 of these, obviously. And I can tell by the shape of each arm which one of these pieces goes on which side. And that one will go there. So there we go. Looking good. See? Now, I already know I don't have near enough glue because I'm already almost out with doing that. So I'm going to put another little dollop of glue on my pad, because I'm going to go on to the hands and then face, and anything that's done in the flesh color of cardstock that I use. And my packaging I've thrown away, so I don't know what it is. But the next time I order it, I'll make sure that I share that information. But I use 110-pound cardstock for that. So it's very, very heavy. And when I cut it on my Cricut, I have to cut it on poster board setting, because it is that setting. I mean, it's that thick. And there's my hand right there, and it's big enough for me to just use like this. So you can see how it's coming together there. We don't have a hand on his side because he has a hook, obviously. Now he has a collar that goes here, that's a fancy mancy collar that goes right here, that's on his shirt. So what I'm going to do, I just laid it down into place to see where it was going to go, and I've picked it up with my crystal katana, so I know that. Now I'm just going to place down some wet glue here and then put it into place. Sorry there, my phone was lighting up. I'm on call tonight, so I was trying to make sure it wasn't my answering service trying to get a hold of me. So sorry about that. So there's the collar of his shirt. So right now it looks like that is completely 100% out of place. Don't you agree? Doesn't that look like the stupidest piece I've put down so far? But it's going to work out, I promise, because Captain Hook's face is actually very, very small. I don't know if you can see those outlines, those little cut lines or guidelines there, but he has a very, very small little face. So let's go to the face next, so it doesn't look like we just royally messed up here. So I'm just going to put down some wet glue all over his face area, every place I want to put that. And I don't mind putting it all over, even though there's going to be places that won't have any cardstock, That's because this stuff dries clear and it works beautifully to do this. Okay, here's the top of Captain Hook's face. It's going to go right there. And here is the bottom of Captain Hook's face. And again, this is that really heavy duty, strong cardstock. So I'm going to press it down into place. Now, the only thing that disappoints me with this cut file is that there wasn't extra separate black pieces to be cut. If I'd known that before I cut it, I would have actually made extra black pieces to cut, because I would have liked his big long mustache to have stood out more, and his shoes to have stood out more. But right now it's just that shadow layer that you can see. Now I need to put in his teeth and the whites of his eyeballs. And these are teeny, super teeny tiny. So let me lay down some more glue in there. Even though I covered it all, it's almost already dry, because I put down such thin layers that it doesn't matter. And and it dries clear, so that's even better. So I'm definitely going to use my crystal katana for this. I'm going to flip it over and use the pointing end now to get it all into place. It goes right there. And now I'm going to do his eyeballs. The white parts of his eyeballs. And then that piece. And as soon as that dries, it won't look like the hot mess it looks like right now. It's because it's got wet glue shining through there. But I laid down those little teeny white parts of his eyeballs and this row of teeth. So that is paper piecing Captain Hook. So let me see how much time that has elapsed here, and if it hasn't been horribly long, then I will do Peter Pan. If not, I'll do that off camera. Guys, I checked my timing and it's a little longer than what I wanted it to be. So I'm not going to go on to Peter Pan, but I do him the exact same way. As you can see, I've got it all laid out here to do it the exact same way. And his teeny tiny eyeballs are in there. So I will come back on and do a video in a day or two, maybe before, hopefully before, showing the process of putting my layout together. Take care. Cheers.